Houston, we are here to talk about my dick.
Let's get this, D.
We're talking about dick. My dick. Specifically my dick. Richard Grinnell. My personal dick. He works at my school. That makes him my dick. Richard Grinnell is the worst.
What a robot.
The worst. I hate
I just looked up pictures of him.
Oh.
It's like...
Why would you do that to yourself?
Because I was curious about what he looked like.
Oh.
And I was like...
Do we have to do that? Do I have to make you so you can share your screen? Give me a moment. I will allow you to share your screen.
Okay, I don't...
Because I deserve... If you have to see... If you will have the misfortune of seeing this man, we have to make it so that everyone sees this man. So let's do this. Are you ready?
Almost ready.
Okay. Advanced sharing options. All participants may share their screen. Houston, I'm ready. Show me your dick.
It's loading. My dick is loading.
Excited. I'm so excited. So the reason we're talking about Richard Grinnell is because Richard Grinnell has been eyeing the governor's race in California. And I must tell you, Richard Grinnell, Houston, do you think Richard Grinnell should be the governor of California?
No.
I also think that Richard Grinnell should not be the governor of California.
Look at this man.
Look at this man.
Can we zoom in?
Look at this man and then point out to yourself that not only is this man the worst and also ugly. Are we allowed to say that? I don't think we're allowed to say that. I retract that.
Oh, it's just
we're
getting
not allowed
smaller.
to say that? Just getting smaller. That's baloney.
That's not, yeah.
That's a bologna sandwich.
All right. Why can't we say he's ugly? Wait, what are we?
Because it's mean.
What can't we say?
That he's ugly. I'm not sure if we're allowed to say that.
Look at this suit. Wait, ew.
Houston, stop. You're body shaming him and you're tie shaming him.
No, I'm
you're tie shaming.
How can you be gay?
Listen, Houston. Not all gays. Okay, first of all, you're wearing plaid. Let's not play the all gays have style shit.
But like this is like a
clearly not all gays have style.
This is a sitting U.S. official speaking at a podium at a microphone, and he's wearing this like
the acting director of national
tinted blue jacket with like a light blue thingy and like this weird purple tie. Get out! It's like black and it's a blue and white.
Houston, you're bullying him. Okay. Let us continue to bully him. Okay. Why do we hate Richard Grinnell? I will tell you. Number one, we hate Richard Grinnell because Richard Grinnell loves Trump and Trump is bad. This is very important. Orange Man bad.
Orange Man still bad.
Orange Man remains bad, even though Orange Man is no longer president, although Orange Man would tell you that he's president, but Orange Man would be wrong when he tells you that he's president. Okay.
Okay, I'll stop.
That's the first thing. Yeah, stop sharing your screen. Yeah. We don't need to look at that for the totality of the experience. That's not pleasant.
No.
We need to look at your face because your face is beautiful and my face is beautiful. Although the sun is sort of like splaying its rays over here.
We gotta work on our lighting.
We gotta work on our lighting. Yeah. My lighting is much better when it's dark out. But you were like, "Oh, Jonah, we have to talk like now. We can't talk like at nighttime." And I was like, but why? And you were like, but yes. And I was like, very well, because obviously I'm a pushover and I just do whatever Houston says. Okay. It's true.
I'm the daddy.
You are indeed the daddy. Yeah. It is moderately unfortunate that this entire show is just two bottoms. You know, like we're just fundamentally bottom energy. And I just feel, here's my hot take. I don't think tops exist. I'm not convinced. I'm serious. I don't think they exist. I think everyone secretly wants to be dominated. It's just that they aren't like comfortable with the fact that they want to be dominated. And therefore, what we're really talking about when we talk about like tops and bottoms is people who are like comfortable with themselves and the fact that they want to be sexually dominated, and people who are not yet comfortable with the fact that they want to be sexually dominated.
But like, if you if you want to be sexually dominated, then there has to be a population out there that wants to sexually dominate.
No, I don't believe it. I think that they think that they want to dominate.
They want to, but
I think
they
that
don't
they
actually
think that they want to, but they don't. Deep down inside, they don't want to. Houston, let's talk about spooning for a second. I know this is supposed to be about Richard Grinnell and now he's running for governor and all of that shit, but we have to talk about spooning. This is important.
Okay, but it's all dick related, so I think
it's all dick related. Exactly.
Unless you're lesbians.
Okay. Here is the spoon. Here is the person on the outside.
Okay.
Now, you can either have the totality of your body enveloped in this loving snuggle.
Yeah.
That's the bottom.
Yeah.
Or you can have the totality of your face just smushed into the back of someone else's head with a bunch of hairs getting up your nostril and into your eyes. Okay. And like all you're doing is you're just like, yeah, with all of this just yeah, all over your face.
Yeah.
Tell me that there are people who genuinely want to be the big spoon. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
I mean, but I think they get something else out of it though.
What?
Because like you get the like kind of protection, like you're protecting someone else. You're like enveloping them in your protection. You get to be like I don't know.
Why would I want to be the one protected?
It feels nice.
Be protected.
It feels nice when you're like holding something while you're sleeping, like you're like a teddy bear or something. You get like that kind of feeling. I'm
sorry. Do you put your teddy bear? First of all, does your teddy bear have like lots of hair that's like long and like just goes all the way over your face, and you wear it such that the hair is just like a bleh all over your head?
He has like a little like sparkles that get places, and like some got in my eye, and
you're just okay with that?
I am, because he's like comforting for me.
That's cute, actually. I support that. I don't have any stuffy in this apartment. It makes me very sad. I do have my blankie. I love my blankie. I feel like I've talked about this my blankie before on this podcast, but I have a king size blankie and I have a twin size mattress. But my blankie, I just like cocoon myself because I want to be this. I want to be contained. I want to be protected from the scary outside world by my blankie. Yeah. Anyway, Richard Grinnell is one of those gays who believes he's a top and is wrong.
Does he?
I don't know about that, actually. I shouldn't say that. The point is that
he has top energy. Have you looked at his boyfriend?
I haven't seen his boyfriend. I honestly don't care that much about Richard Grinnell's sex life. I got to be honest. The point, though, is that he's trying to run for governor of California, which he's going to lose, and it's going to be fun.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to him losing because Republicans can't win in California. They haven't won in a generation.
Right.
Arnold Schwarzenegger did, but he's not a real Republican, number one. And number two, California has gotten far bluer since then. And also, Richard Grinnell is far more ridiculous than Arnold Schwarzenegger. One of them, is a Terminator, and the other one is literally trying to terminate all of society. Okay? They're different. They're different. Yeah. They're different.
It's just different.
It's just different. It's just different. So I don't think he can become the governor of California. Sure. Kieran Skinner, by contrast. Now, Kieran Skinner, for context, the reason we're talking about these people is because they both work at Carnegie Mellon. Kieran Skinner is the one who started the Institute for Political Studies, which is where I have my minor from. And she's very important in the political world within the context of Carnegie Mellon, within the context of Pittsburgh, within the context of Pennsylvania, within the context of the country writ large, because she was an assistant secretary of state under Pompeo. So they both matter a lot under the Trump regime, right? And now they're looking for things to do now that Trump is dead. Not literally, but figuratively dead. As in, he will never matter, hopefully, ever again in the context of the political realm with respect to elected positions. Obviously, he's going to make the new Fox News. He's going to include Lou Dobbs in the new Fox News because they just fired Lou Dobbs.
Really?
Yeah, they just fired Lou Dobbs from
I saw that.
From Fox Business, and it's the worst because they're like, oh, we're gonna do that because like he was saying a bunch of conspiracy nonsense, which admittedly he was saying a bunch of conspiracy nonsense, but now he's gonna go work for Trump. and I'm terrified. And Newsmax keeps on desperately just being like, pick me, daddy, pick me, daddy, pick me, daddy, because they're a bottom also, like me. And they're like, oh, we want you to buy us, daddy. Please, daddy. Daddy Trump, please buy us, right? By the way, top energy. Trump, think he's a top. He's not. Learn his past. Learn his past, know his relationship with his father. He wants to be sexually dominated. This is why, while not true, there's a truthy feeling to the whole P-tape scandal, which was obviously complete bullshit, but it feels true.
And fun.
I feel like the left needs to embrace things that feel true but aren't, because the right clearly embraces things that feel true but aren't.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like Joe Biden didn't get more votes than anyone in the history of the country, even though there are more people who live in the country than ever before in the history of the country. There are
also more people that are politically involved now.
Also, more people are legally allowed to vote than ever before.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the blacks weren't able to vote, the women weren't able to vote, the non-landowners weren't able to vote, and all of a sudden they are.
But they've been able to vote for at least 100 years. Well, not in the case of black people.
Not in the case of black people. Not 100
I don't know,
years.
but it's still like Joe Biden gets the most votes. Like, really? Really, America? Like, you couldn't vote for like Obama?
Well, they did.
I guess you did, but like that many people? Because what did he get, like 70 million votes or something, or like?
Well, the thing is that like both of Obama's presidential elections, like Romney isn't scary. He's just fundamentally not a scary man. John McCain should be scary because John McCain was very pro-war in case of every single war all of the time. He was a complete war hawk, worse than his daughter, and his daughter is evil. I hate his daughter. Frickin' Meghan. I hate Meghan. Meghan might actually be a top. I could be convinced that Meghan's a real top.
The only real top.
Like a real one. Like, I could be convinced of that. I'm not convinced yet, but I could be. I could be convinced of that.
But Daddy McCain is not.
Daddy McCain is clearly a bottom. Daddy McCain is clearly a bottom. Yeah. But
what was the point?
The point is that Obama was not as scary an election from the perspective of the Democrats, because while Obama was nice and they wanted Obama, they didn't not want Romney or not want McCain in the way that people really truly do not want and continue to not want Trump to be president.
Sure.
Also, mail-in ballots matter a lot.
Oh yeah,
it makes it a lot easier to vote.
That's true.
So that's definitely a component of it.
Yeah. Okay, I think I've been convinced.
Yeah. Also, blacks weren't allowed to vote in Georgia in 2008.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they were.
But
they were legally allowed, but there was a lot more successful attempts to stop, particularly black people, but people living in cities writ large from voting.
Gotcha.
In a lot of swing states. Georgia wasn't quite a swing state yet. It was still pretty whatever. The point remains that I think we did a better job of fighting back against laws that were trying to keep people from voting. Yeah. So that's good. I'm going to transition my body over to the left, both physically and sort of intellectually. I'm going to move towards the left as we start to discuss Kieran Skinner, and also continue to talk about Richard Grinnell, because there was sun. And while sunlight is the best disinfectant, it is not the best lighting when doing a podcast.
It's not the best lighting ever, I don't think.
You don't think? I think lighting from the sun. I think sun is great. I'm a big fan of the sun. Sometimes I think
like
about
the sun. I don't like it for lighting though.
You don't think?
Yeah, I always use artificial lighting whenever I shoot anything, because
that's interesting.
It's just very unpredictable and it's always moving.
But it's so pretty. I really like sunsets. I'm a big fan of sunsets.
Sunsets and sunrises are great. But
here's my hot take. Sunsets are much better than sunrises.
Sure.
I just feel like they're just much better. I don't know why. I can't defend that, but it's a belief that I hold strongly. And again, the left needs to embrace things that just feel true but probably aren't.
Well, I think it's partly because we grew up on the East Coast, and the sun setting in the West means it's going to be setting over everything.
That's interesting.
Rather than rising, like what it's rising over the Pacific. It's rising over the Atlantic Ocean.
The Atlantic Ocean. Yeah.
I've
gone to, I'm blanking on the name of the mountain, but there's a mountain in Maine, which is the first place in the entirety of the Americas to see the sunrise. And I looked at the sunrise there.
Wow.
And it's really
Congratulations.
fun. Yeah. I mean, it's not that much of an accomplishment. A lot of people do it, but it is fun. Okay.
Anyway.
Kieran Skinner is more scary than Richard Grinnell. Because Kieran Skinner, can we pull up a photo of Kieran Skinner?
Sure.
You're going to do that? Thank you. You're very kind. Kieran Skinner is running for senator of Pennsylvania.
Wait, how do I spell that?
Kieran is spelled K-I, Ron, as in Ronald Weasley.
Okay, I got it.
And then Skinner is like, I will skin you alive.
We got her.
I'm a Republican. You know, that's how Republicans work. Republicans are actually just trying to eat your babies. That's how they work.
I understand how black people become Republicans.
You don't understand how black people become Republicans?
Yeah.
Why not? I think I understand it.
Just because, like, these people literally, like, want to kill you. Or, like...
They just want to segregate against you. I don't think that they want to kill you anymore. I think they mostly just don't want to, like, admit that you exist.
I think sometimes they want to kill you.
Yeah, but I don't think they want to kill you any more than they want to, like, kill the Jews at this point. Do you think that, like, the average Republican wants to kill all blacks, or do you think that the average Republican just wants to not see them?
That's true. I feel like the average Republican wants to not see them.
I think that's probably right.
Or doesn't think about them.
That's quite interesting.
Or doesn't care about them. But, like, how could you, like,
I think it's part of a
party that doesn't care, want to see you, or, like, I don't know.
I don't think the Democrats are big fans of the Jews.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think anyone, to be fair, I don't think anyone deep down inside, including the Jews, likes the Jews. But, like, you know, like, I do feel like, okay, so
no, I mean, I don't. I'm actually very curious about this because this isn't the first time I've heard this argument.
Well, I mean, certainly the far left does not like Israel at all, and I think that very frequently the far left falls into a categorization of, like, defining their hatred of Israel as being a hatred that is equivalent to the hatred of Jews.
Why do they hate Israel?
Because Israel does some bad shit.
Okay.
In the West Bank, and particularly in the Gaza Strip, Israel does some bad shit.
Okay.
Also because Israel is our closest ally in the Middle East, and they rightly recognize that the Middle East is, like, kind of fucked because of U.S. involvement. Also because Bibi Netanyahu is kind of insane. And also just because of, like, long-lasting tropes of Jews as capitalist daddies. Which, again, to be clear, there is no such thing as a real daddy except maybe Meghan McCain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Jews don't like the leftists because of that.
So here's the thing about Jews.
Which I guess I understand that.
So Jews. So, okay. In the context of white supremacy.
Okay.
The basic idea of white supremacy is, number one, that blacks are genetically inferior and stupid.
Sure.
And number two, that blacks are taking over and destroying the white race by outcompeting the white race.
Yeah.
These seem to be directly in contradiction. Those can't work simultaneously.
Wait, what was the first one?
The first one is that they are fundamentally stupid, genetically inferior, all of that shit.
Yeah.
And the second one is that they are also outcompeting the white race, and, like, they're stealing white jobs and all of that shit.
Right.
The only way that can happen is with white race traders. You have smart whites who are working in opposition to the white agenda by working to in favor of the blacks.
Okay.
That's the position of the Jews. So the per capita, the job of the Jews, according to white supremacists, the job of the Jews, what we do is that we help the blacks and help the Hispanics and help the Asians and all of that shit.
Okay.
Actually, most white supremacists are less anti-Asian than they are anti-Black and anti-Hispanic.
Sure.
But they broadly look at us as the way that Blacks are able to succeed, because we're secretly as part of this international cabal trying to make the Blacks succeed so that eventually we can destroy the white race, because that's the goal of the Jews, to destroy the white race.
Okay.
That's their theory. Because of that theory, the far right actually on a per capita basis does more hate crimes to Jews than to Blacks. But the thing is that they're not doing it. That, like, from a mathematical perspective, on the per capita basis, it is true that there are more attacks on Jews than any other racial group or ethnic group in the entire country, which is fascinating, because you'd think, like, on the day-to-day basis, the hatred of Jews is clearly not nearly as intense as the day-to-day hatred of Blacks and of other minorities.
Sure.
But the reason that happens is because if your goal is to fuck over Black people as hard as you can, the best way to do that, according to the far right, is actually not to go kill some Black people. It's to go kill the, like, leaders of the Blacks, which is to say, kill the Jews.
Huh.
So that's why the far right hates the Jews. The far left hates the Jews. Yeah, go for it.
No, continue.
The far left hates the Jews because they hate Israel. And the reason they hate Israel is because they, I think, don't understand what's going on in the Middle East at all. So they see the Middle East as, I think that a lot of the left looks at race relations internationally as though they're equivalent to race relations in the United States.
Right.
When you're talking about race relations in the United States, I think it's pretty fair to basically say, like, the whites came, they killed a bunch of Native Americans, they enslaved a bunch of others, they gave smallpox blankets and didn't kill most of the Native Americans.
Sure.
And then the Native Americans were basically dead, except for in Oklahoma. We'll talk about that later. And then they brought in a bunch of Blacks from Africa, and they were like, you are our slaves now, and you will do what the whites say. And that's the history of race in this country. And ever since then, basically the problems of our racism in this country is basically just like whites versus Blacks. That's it.
Right.
And that's overly simplistic, obviously, but it's also not entirely wrong.
Yeah.
The history of race in the Middle East is so much more complicated. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
When we talk about,
there's just so much more history.
There's just so much more history. It's just so much more complicated. Yeah, because, like, race in this country has only really existed since Columbus.
Right, the 1600s.
Yeah.
Which is like 400 years ago.
Nothing.
That's nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, sure. Right? Like, I guess that, like, race, so the complexity of our race is pretty non-existent. But race is a social construct, and it's different in different places. And, like, you know, I just don't think Americans realize that, like, even the concept of Blackness isn't a thing in other countries. When we talk about, like, what is Black in South Africa, like, we think of someone like Obama as being a Black president.
Right.
But South Africa wouldn't. They would think of him as being a mixed president, which is a fundamentally different thing. Trevor Noah has a great book called Born a Crime. And the reason he's born a crime is because it was illegal for Blacks and whites to intermarry and to have kids together. But the average Black person in the United States of America is like 30% white because of a history of white masters raping their Black slaves.
Right.
And, like, so Blackness, just like, it's completely different in our country, and the context is completely different than the context of any other country in the history of the world.
Sure.
In the context of Israel, if you are going to look from an American lens of what is the color of people's skin, and you're going to compare, you know, Jews versus non-Jews, Jews versus Muslims specifically, in the context of Israel, it sounds on paper, particularly given that the Jews in America look like me, like it's white versus Black. But that's just not true at all. First of all, Mizrahi Jews exist. Ethiopia used to have a huge component of their society that was Jewish. There are hundreds of thousands of Jews in Israel today who are Mizrahi Jews, and they all come from Ethiopia. And Ethiopia doesn't have Jews anymore. They have, like, very few Jews, if any at all, comparative to what they had even just 60 years ago. And the reason for that is because they were forced out of Ethiopia, because Ethiopia said basically, we will fucking kill all of the Jews if you don't leave right now. And then they killed a bunch of Jews, but most of the Jews did escape and go to Israel. So when we talk about the Jewish population of Israel today, the percentage of them who look like me, who are Ashkenazi, who are Sephardic, who are European Jews, is actually not that high. It's 50%. 49% are Mizrahi. 49 are either Middle Eastern or are from Africa, and they don't look white. And I just don't think that that's something that we recognize as a left culture in the United States. That's one component.
Okay.
That the history of subjugation of Jews and the history, the racial makeup of Jews is much more complicated in Israel than it is in the United States, where basically we all look white. There are some, obviously, non-white Jews in the United States, but for the most part, we're white. Right. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is that they look at the history of Israel without looking at the history of the Middle East. And if you look at the history of Israel is true, a bunch of Jews immigrating to Israel and kicking out / buying up all of the land / kicking out all the people who used to live there. Okay. That's valid. There's no dispute there. That is like an absolutely a completely valid component of the history of Israel.
Wait, who are the people that they kicked out?
They kicked out a bunch of Palestinians who used to live in mainland Israel and now live in the West Bank for the most part, also live in Gaza, but mostly live in the West Bank. Some of them were forced out into Jordan. Some of them were forced out into Egypt, but for the most part in the West Bank. Okay. That is a real history. There's no question about that. There were about 400,000 people who were kicked out, but there are about 5 million people who are alive now who are the descendants of people who were kicked out. That's a lot of people, right? And obviously all 5 million, I shouldn't say all 5 million, but many of those 5 million want to go back and feel entitled to go back. And that doesn't sound crazy to me.
Sure.
What that doesn't recognize though, is that there used to be 400,000 Jews living in Egypt. Today there are 2.
Are there literally 2, or is it
literally 2? Yeah, in the official capacity. I mean, I'll pull it up. Egypt Jewish population. Give me a moment.
Okay. I know this isn't the topic for today's video, but it's very.
I know it isn't, but it's interesting, and I'm going to talk about it.
Sure.
Jewish population by country. Okay.
And it's something that I actually talk about with my mom a lot. She works with a lot of Jewish people.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Give me a moment. This is more difficult than I was hoping for it to be. Egypt. Yeah, 1. I'm sorry. There's 1 Jew still living in Egypt, and there are, give me a moment, 57,000 Jews who are now living in Israel, Egyptian Jews who are now living in Israel. 12 versus 57,500. And what we don't talk about is the fact that in the 1940s, late 1940s, in the 1950s, 80,000 were forced out
of Egypt.
We just don't talk about that.
Huh.
We don't talk about the fact that if we're talking about Ethiopia, here's the history of Ethiopia, of their Jews, right? And we talk about how many Ethiopian Jews are living in Ethiopia today, right? And the Israeli population is estimated between 200,000 and 350,000. Excuse me, is that right? It's even higher than I believe. The point is that there are so many different people from so many different places, Jewish people who were forced out of their homeland and forced into Israel because they really had no other places to go.
Sure.
And that's just not talked about. It's not talked about that was a thing in Jordan. It's not talked about that was a thing in Egypt. It's not talking about that was a thing in Syria. It's not talked about that was a thing in all of these different places. And that now, basically the only place in the totality of the Middle East that Jews are welcome is Israel.
Gotcha.
So I just worry that we don't talk about that. And that's kind of my concern about the left's perspective on Jews. And also there's a second perspective on Jews is that there are a lot of left-wing people who do think that we have all of the money, which is just not entirely true.
Sure.
Jews in America are pretty wealthy comparative to other racial groups. That part's true. But internationally, worldwide, Jewish people in Israel are not statistically that much wealthier than non-Jewish people in Israel. And Jewish people outside of Israel are poor for the most part. Outside of the United States and Israel, like there's a real complexity here. And I just don't think that we recognize that in terms of our race relations in the United States. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So then that's why the Jews in America are for the Republican Party, because the Republicans are more for Israel.
So they're not. Statistically, something like 80% of Jews vote for the Democrats.
Okay.
However, AIPAC, increasingly, AIPAC is the America Israel Political Action Committee. Okay. And they are the most important sort of Israeli advocacy group in the country. I also sang the national anthem for them in front of 30,000 people at one point.
Oh.
That was fun. But they are very important, and they are increasingly further and further to the right. And that's for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because Trump himself was pretty Israel. I don't even want to say like pro-Israel, but like war hockey on behalf of Israel. So one thing that he did was he moved the embassy to Jerusalem, which I think was probably a good idea. In as much as what he did was, this is part of the part of Jerusalem that has been under Jewish control, under the Israeli authorities' control since the 60s, right, for a long period of time. But the vast majority of nations worldwide, up until the point that he moved the Israeli embassy, had the embassies in Tel Aviv, because there's a complexity as to whether or not the totality of Jerusalem is truly Israeli land. Because obviously all of this whole thing that we're talking about is the size of New Jersey, right? But it's the most important land in the history of the world. Sure. By far, it's not close. And so there's a real sort of complexity as to who deserves to have which parts of Jerusalem. The old city in particular is really, really fucking complex. But the totality of Jerusalem is just really complicated. And so him moving it to Jerusalem was, I think, an important act, and was, I think, broadly probably a good thing. Okay. Another thing that he did is that he accepted the idea that Golan Heights belongs to Israel. So if we pull up a map of Israel, I don't know why we've decided to make this whole thing about Israel, but that's fine.
It's okay.
I think it's totally fine. Here is the Golan Heights. If we have an image of, we can just go to maps. That's probably a better move. Okay. So one thing that we want to point out is, give me a moment. One thing we have to point out is just like the fact that this map exists in the way that it does is really complicated. So like, okay, here is Israel. If we zoom out, there's Israel, right? Okay. Down there is the bottom of Israel. This is the sort of the middle of Israel. This is the West Bank. This is under. It's complicated, but parts of this are under the Palestinian Authority. There are sort of three different separate components of it, under varying degrees of authority of the Palestinian Authority, and obviously this is the Gaza Strip. This is under the control of Hamas. Basically, it's more complicated than that, but basically under the control of Hamas, which is, I don't want to say explicitly a terrorist group, because there are components of it that aren't a terrorist group, but they're basically a terrorist group. This is the West Bank. It's under control of the Fatah. The Fatah is much less militaristic. They do still have, when I was at their headquarters, talking to their Secretary General, I wasn't alone. There were like a bunch of people. But like when we were talking to him in their headquarters, they did still have guns painted onto the wall in their mural. And the guns were directly aimed at the Israeli flag, which had like blood on it or something like that. But this is Jerusalem. And there's real complexity, because like this is the line right here of like where the line is as to where the West Bank begins and where the Israeli side of it ends. So the majority of Jerusalem is under Israeli control, and I shouldn't really say that. The totality of it is under Israeli control. However, parts of it are under the Palestinian Authority, meaning that they have like some amount of control under Palestinian spaces, and also the key component is obviously the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, also known as, which is right here, and obviously the Western Wall, for those who don't know, is directly below the Temple Mount. So the Temple Mount is a really important holy site for for Muslims, the Western Wall is the most important site for Jews in the world. There's real complexity just in this space right here. This is the old city all the time. And then obviously, if you zoom out, the totality of this is really complicated because the West Bank wants to be an independent country I shouldn't even say that. They want the whole of Israel back in their mind, and they also want the Gaza Strip back. But Jews want to have this back in Jewish control. They don't want the Gaza Strip. No one wants the Gaza Strip. Israel offered the Gaza Strip back to Egypt, and Egypt said, "Fuck no, we don't want to deal with that." No one wants the Gaza Strip. Gaza Strip is basically an open air prison. No one's able to come in or leave without the permission of the Israeli Authority. The Israeli Authority has done a very piss poor job of allowing people in and out, which is sort of somewhat intentional. So over here is Syria. I don't know if anyone's been paying attention to Syria, but Syria, what we call Syria, is a shithole. What's going on in Syria is a refugee crisis. What's going on in Syria is ISIS. What's going on in Syria is this giant war between Assad, the president, and a bunch of different rebel groups, and it's a total mess. Because it's a total mess, for that reason, the Golan Heights, which is up here, the Golan Heights here, is territory. It's higher up, just physically higher up, and therefore it's like, from a strategic perspective, really advantageous to have that land if you ever were to have a military conquest into Israel or out of Israel into Syria. It's like a very, very strategically beneficial place, but it's not something that was in the Torah, which is the Jewish sort of holy book. It wasn't promised to the Jews in accordance to the Torah, and therefore there's no real argument from like a religious perspective, nor from like a sort of moral perspective in the context of the Zionistic sort of movement as to why that should be Jewish land. However, it is currently under Jewish control. It is currently under Israeli control. By the way, the reason I'm using Jewish and Israeli as sort of interchangeably is because, quite frankly, they are kind of interchangeable in this context. It is true that 30% of the Israeli, as in the Israeli not in West Bank or in Gaza Strip, the voting Israeli population is Muslim, and they do have seats in the government, but they have not had actual control over the government for a very long period of time. They also literally have a Jewish star, Star of David, on the flag. I don't want to say that it's a Jewish supremacist state, but it's certainly a heavily Jewish leading state in ways that I would approximate to some of the other countries around them, not nearly as intensely a Jewish state as like Saudi Arabia is a Muslim state, or Iran is a Muslim state, or Iraq is a Muslim state, or Egypt is a Muslim state, but they are certainly a Jewish state. So because of that, I call Golan Heights under Jewish control as well as under Israeli control, but it shouldn't be. Trump said two things. He said, one, Tel Aviv over here, which is clearly under the Jewish control in the Israeli sort of space, is not really controversially controlled by Jews. Jerusalem is controversially controlled by Jews because obviously the people on this side of the border want to have all of Israel, but particularly all of Jerusalem because it's the most important city in Israel from a religious perspective, and obviously all of the Jews on this side want to have all of this on this side as well. Okay, Jerusalem, by moving the ambassadorship, by moving the embassy over here, there's a real complexity there. That is an important thing to do. Obviously, yeah, just to point out Tel Aviv, way over here, there's Tel Aviv, there's the border. It's not close, right? Like geographically it is. That's only like, I'm not sure how many miles, but it's like pretty close because everything's pretty close in Israel. But like intellectually, sort of societally, it's clearly on the border to the water. It's clearly in a space that is not nearly as controversial as Jerusalem, which is right literally smack on the border / over the border of West Bank / Israeli controlled space. So that's the complexity of moving it there. I do think ultimately it was probably right to move it there. This saying that the Golan Heights is Israeli land rather than Syrian land is crazy. It's just not. And I'm very frustrated that Trump did that. But yeah, that's basically the overview. I don't know how the fuck we got to that, but we did, and that's okay. Anyway, Kieran Skinner can't be the senator from Pennsylvania, that's bad. She can't do it.
Okay.
She can't do it. Because, okay, there's a couple of reasons. Reason one, all senators should be Democrats. All of them. All of them. That's the first problem.
Sure.
And Karen Skinner is noticeably not a Democrat.
Right.
That's the first issue.
Yeah.
Second issue. I don't believe that we should be encouraging people to pretend that they don't know who won the fucking election, which is what Karen Skinner did.
Sure.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely worried about the future of the Republican Party. Not because I'm a Republican, because obviously, let's clarify, I am not a Republican. But I'm worried that they represent like an existential threat to America because they suck.
Yeah. I mean, clearly they do.
And they're getting worse.
We just had an insurrection.
And they're getting worse.
We're having like the Republican Party in Congress is having like meetings over whether they want to be with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Who literally, we were talking about anti-Semitism. She literally thinks I have a fucking space laser.
Right.
She thinks that we have space lasers. The Jews don't have space lasers yet. We want them, but let's be honest, who's going to get the space lasers first? The Africans. Elon Musk is an African. He is the first person to get the space lasers. It's true.
Sure.
He's going to be the one.
Right. Yeah, no, I believe that. So I mean, yeah, the Republican Party is kind of just like up right now.
Up right now, I agree.
And they're trying to be like a not, but I just think they're going to be more.
But I just think they're going to be more all the time.
Oh yeah.
But I'm so scared of them.
Just like what do they do? Like what do you do?
I don't know. What do they even stand for?
I don't know. Just like being dumb. I mean, I genuinely, I kind of know because we had to read the party platform in like
they didn't
high
make
school.
One.
No, I mean in high school for 2016.
I know. In 2020, they didn't make a new platform. They literally were just like, listen, if we made a platform, Trump would just like break it. So why would we make a new platform?
Sure.
When he's just going to break it. We mean what we do is whatever Trump wants to do on the given afternoon. Yeah. That's what the Republicans are.
Right. Because they let the power take over, you know? Like the great power comes great responsibility. They were like, fuck responsibility.
Fuck responsibility.
Give me all this
power. Yeah.
Right. And they were like, oh yeah, we got all this power. And then suddenly Trump was in and like took all their power and was like, okay, I'll share this power with you if you do whatever I say. And they were like, yes, daddy. But as we went over
because they are bottoms like everyone else.
Right.
And Trump is also a bottom, but Meghan McCain, maybe a top. We're not sure. Maybe a top.
So now they have this issue where they're kind of like, this is where our power is. But it's kind of awful, but also like it's power. And so they have to decide whether they care more about the power or being good.
That's quite.
And they're really struggling with being good now. Yeah, they're really going for the power.
But like, okay, so let's.
But also, not all of them are.
Let's
unpack, which is the
this.
issue.
So okay, they're mad that the Democrats don't take the economy seriously in their mind.
Sure.
But also, they hate all of the states that have the strongest economy.
Sure.
I don't get that. I don't understand how you can simultaneously be like, we need more industry, but also be like, I hate New York.
Yeah.
And California.
Yeah.
Because they have too much industries, brackets. That means the Jews. You know? Right. I don't understand that.
Or the liberals.
The liberals.
The people that don't vote for us.
The globalists. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I
understand that. Then they're like, okay, like, I hate the immigrants.
Right.
Because they're stealing our jobs.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
But okay. That's the thing that they think.
Yeah.
But then also, they're like really in favor of having absolutely no regulations whatsoever and are super anti-union.
Yeah.
If you want to protect your job, hear me out, get a union.
Yeah, that's what they're made for.
Unions are helpful in protecting your job. But
that's
all of these people fucking hate the unions. The freaking sun keeps moving. I'm going to shift over. Economy. I'm going to shift over again. By the end of this, I will just be so far left, I will have left my apartment. That's how far left I'm going to shift. Shifting left, shifting left, shifting left, shifting left away from the sun, shifting left away from the sun, shifting left away from the sun. Okay. So.
Yeah. I don't understand. I don't understand either.
They're like, we're pro-life. You can't have an abortion.
Right.
But also, like, if you don't want to wear a mask, don't. In fact, I'm going to make fun of you if you do wear a mask.
Yeah.
Because fuck people staying alive. They should die.
Yeah.
But the choice between my ability to not wear a mask and your ability to not fucking die, obviously I should not be made to wear a mask.
Right.
I don't understand it.
No.
I don't understand. They're just so confusing.
They are so I legit don't like. What do you want?
What do you want?
Yeah.
If I knew what they wanted, I could tell them why they're wrong.
Right.
But I can't even tell them why they're wrong because they're wrong in opposite directions all of the time.
Yeah.
They're simultaneously wrong in the direct, like,
even like the old, like, it's not even a new thing. Like, we learned in poli-sci that like one of the main Republican things that they want to decrease the debt of the United States. And it's
they don't.
Cool. Right. But like, you can say that and like, okay, I can get behind that. Right. Yeah. But then like, since I think maybe even before Reagan, like Republicans have only increased the debt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
let us look like deficit by year.
Like, if you want to decrease the debt, then cool. But like, you can't be like, yeah, we're going to decrease the debt and then increase it. And then be like, these Democrats are increasing our debt. Like, no, honey, you just did.
Okay. I am going to pull up a beautiful little thingy, Maboob. It is called a chart. Here's my chart. All right. Here we see the debt. Okay. At the beginning of Barack Obama's 2009 presidency, we were close to $12 trillion in debt.
Right.
He increased that over 8 years by about $8 trillion.
Okay.
Trump increased, that was in 8 years.
Yeah.
Trump increased from $20 trillion to $27 trillion in 4 years. He was almost twice as bad.
Yeah.
You want to talk about how like Obama is the problem? I'm sorry. Obama is not the problem. Let's go back to Bush.
Yeah.
Here is Bush, the mini Bush, the stupid Bush. There were two Bushes. One was the evil Bush. One is the evil Bush. This is the evil Bush. This is the stupid Bush.
The baby
stupid Bush. 6 trillion to 12 trillion.
Yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton increased it only by 1.4 trillion.
Right.
But Daddy Bush increased it by more.
Yeah.
Reagan increased it by more. Carter only increased it by $300 billion ish. It's not that much.
Right.
But like, the Republicans are worse. Like,
yeah. Yes.
I'm not a math major.
No.
But, okay. 7 trillion.
Right.
Over 4 years is like close to 2 trillion a year.
Right. Right.
That's more than 1 trillion a year.
Yeah.
It's more.
It is. It is.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
These people are ridiculous.
Yeah, which is why they can't become senators.
They cannot be trusted.
No.
This is why Kieran Skinner can't be senator of Pennsylvania.
Legitimate, like if you're gonna be saying something and then like doing the exact opposite of what you're saying, and then pretending like you didn't do the thing you just did,
maybe
or
hide
pretending
it
you didn't say the thing you said, you like
hide it
you
better.
can't be trusted.
You can't be trusted. Also,
no.
They don't even try to hide these things anymore.
No.
Kelly Loeffler is just like, yeah, I stole from the American people. I had top secret information about COVID-19. I knew it was going to destroy America. And then I profited off of that. I was like, I am the sitting senator and I know what I will do. Purdue did this too. I know what I will do.
Yeah.
I will make money.
Yeah.
By fucking over America.
Right.
By not telling them that everything is about to go to shit.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to fix it, make it not go to shit, I'll just make money off of that.
Right.
And we're all supposed to be okay with that. There were people, unironically, trying to give Kelly Loeffler, after she lost, credit for not trying to steal the election by voting, against the American people to try to block the votes, the legally counted votes of millions of Americans. And I'm supposed to be appreciative of that? I don't appreciate Kelly Loeffler. She's a piece of shit. Fuck Kelly Loeffler. She's the worst. Just because you're not literally freaking Ted Cruz, okay? Just because you're not literally freaking, I hate them. They're the worst. Yeah. All of them are the worst. Mm-hmm. We need to kill them. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, hopefully they get rid of themselves. Are you telling them to commit suicide? Because I want to clarify. I wish I'm not doing that. I'm saying, could the party just implode?
Oh, I hope so. I'm really I'm hoping that Trump is genuinely stupid enough to start a third party.
Yeah, I hope. Oh my God, that'd be great.
That would be fantastic.
That would be so good. But he's got to commit to it. It can't be like a Teddy Roosevelt third party.
Yeah.
It can't be like a full moose. You gotta go for it.
You gotta go for it.
Yeah. Split the vote.
Oh, that would be great.
Take the Republic. Just make it Donald J. Trump. We know you listen to this podcast. Make a third party and commit to it. Just throw a ton of money at it. Get people from all over the country to run for office under your party, and then just kill the Republican Party.
Yeah. So the problem is that Trump didn't realize. He was talking about a little bit about trying to start a third party. He didn't realize that if you start a third party, you're not allowed to be a part of the third party and also run in the primary of the Republicans, which is the most bumfuck obvious thing in the world.
Yeah.
But he just didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how stupid Trump is.
Right.
He's very good at playing the media, but he's also very stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't I don't think he needs to. They need a great Republican to run in the general election. They just need a really good, classic, racist, but not outwardly racist, like a fiscally conservative, but
they need a Mitt Romney.
Yeah. But
here's the problem: there are no Mitt Romneys who can win right now.
Just make one.
They don't exist.
Oh, but they need to.
Okay.
They need to exist for this plan to work.
Houston, they don't exist. It's true. Normal Republicans, okay? They're like unicorns. They're like vampires, okay? They're like North Dakota. They don't exist. They don't exist. They don't exist. North Dakota doesn't exist. Unicorns don't exist. Conservatives don't exist. All they are is a bunch of Trumplicans. That's all they are. Conservatives don't exist. Libertarians exist. There are some libertarians. Justin Amash exists. But there are no
Can we get one of them to run as a Republican?
Here's the problem. If Justin Amash ran, he might win. If he got past the primary, he might win. I don't want him to win.
He might beat Trump or like a Trump party candidate.
If he managed to get past the primary of the Republican Party, and then he got to the general election, he would beat a Joe Biden figure. He would beat a Kamala Harris.
Would he beat a Trump and a...
I'm assuming that he won the Republican Party and the Republican Party doesn't fracture.
No, I'm assuming that he becomes a Republican representative, Trump becomes his own representative, and the Democrats have their own representative.
Oh, well, then the Democrats are going to win.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's what needs to happen.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I really do hope so.
Because then they can't win anything.
The ideal society is a society where Republicans always lose.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. The ideal society is a society where Republicans don't exist. But given that I am not in favor of mass genocide yet in the case of the United States, I don't.
We have room to grow.
We have room to grow. Listen, if they invade straight up, okay, so here's the deal. The reason I'm not in favor of mass genocide in the United States of America and the Republican Party yet, is because I'm concerned we would lose that war.
Sure. Yeah.
Because have we had a conversation about guns on this podcast yet?
Yeah.
We have. Okay.
Yeah.
The Democrats suck and don't understand that they need fucking guns.
Sure.
Like the Democrats are like, oh, like maybe the police shouldn't kill as many innocent black people and invade their homes. That's not great. And the Republicans are like, fuck that shit. I'm going to invade the Capitol and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we need their policies, but we need their attitude of aggression. We do. We need to be more aggressive.
Okay. Yeah,
we need to be more like, you know?
Yeah.
There's not enough energy on the left.
We have the power to do the shit that we want to do, but we're too fractured to do it. And it's
where is our Malcolm X these days? I'm seeing a lot of people who are trying to be Martin Luther King, but I'm sorry, Martin Luther King can't do it on his own. We need some dudes to join the Black Panthers. We need some people to freaking pew, 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 pew. Hopefully they miss, but they need to be walking around with guns. They need to just exist and be scary left-wingers. No one's scared of the left. They're all scared of the right, but no one's scared of the left.
Yeah, because it's not scary.
I want to clarify this is a joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. If you got this far and didn't know that this was a joke.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Kieran Skinner is a smart right-winger.
Yeah.
She's power hungry and she has a specific agenda on foreign policy. And I don't think she has any positions that actually matter to her on domestic issues at all. I don't think she cares about abortion.
Like a good
I don't think she cares about guns. I don't think she cares about healthcare. I don't think she cares about any of that. I think she only cares about how can we invade the Middle East next. That's what Kieran Skinner cares about.
That doesn't sound like a good senator.
She can't be senator. Houston will be so scared. She can't be my senator.
All right, we're gonna run an anti-Kieran Skinner campaign.
Here's the problem with the anti-Kieran Skinner campaigns. Those campaigns who are like anti-specifically one party candidate, when they're coming from the opposite party, they always help them. Like there were so many people on the left who were like, anyone but Trump, and that's why all of the right wingers were like, hey, Trump.
Right. Okay.
Trump. Yeah. So we can't do it. But
this whole politics thing is ridiculous.
Why don't we just become a Dance Moms podcast? I don't understand. You know they're not making a season 9 of Dance Moms. It's really frustrating.
There are 9 seasons of Dance Moms.
There are 8 seasons of Dance Moms. I said they're not making a 9th season. It was canceled, which is bullshit. They're like, oh, she abuses kids, and I'm like, yes, that's the fun of it. You know? They're like, okay. To clarify, I don't mean like physically abusive. I just mean that she yells at them.
Emotionally and mentally abusive.
Emotionally toxic. Yes.
Okay. I think that's a great show. I think that's where we're gonna end it for today's episode. Moral of the story: don't vote for Republicans because they don't know what Republicans. They don't know who they are. They've never known who they are.
Never knew who they were.
And they will continue to not know who they are.
What are we going to title this episode? This episode was about so many different things.
It was.
We just sort of meandered over everything.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a
meandering quibble with
Oh,
Jonah and Houston or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah?
It was. Yeah, it's been interesting. We should do more of these.
We should do more of these.
Yeah.
All right. Like, subscribe.
Comment if you like.
Comment.
If you want more of these.
Share. Follow us on Twitter, where I beef.
Yeah.
With everyone.
Continue
online.
to get Twitter notifications.
Yeah, I keep on annoying Houston because they just like go bing, 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 bing.
So many. And the people like all of the comments. And it likes the comments that you're mentioned in. It likes the comments that you replied to, and it notifies you if someone likes your comment. And so it's just like, and the people go and like all of the comments, and it's like,
yeah,
I appreciate the likes, but also Twitter, you don't have to notify.
Yeah,
me
I don't need to
time.
know when I get my 36th like.
Yeah,
35. I understand what's going on with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Also follow us on TikTok.
And Instagram.
Is that
thank
it?
you, and bye-bye.